Welcome to the weekend preview show. I've got Justin and Oldy here with me tonight. Scotty is taking the week off, and we are here to talk about races Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. All the stakes races that we will be covering over the weekend. It's a pretty good slate, guys. I think there's like 20 races to talk about, so we're going to move through them with you all tonight. Thank you for joining. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and we're going to get right into this. Oldy, let me get you up on the stage. We're going to talk about Del Mar, the only stakes race on Friday, which is race 2.
It's the Jim Carrey smoking stakes.
Smoking if you got them.
All right, so 6-horse field before scratches. The E top pick, the 2 are Heisman, and second pick Shea Brennan, and the long shot is Bodacious. I liked our Heisman as well here, who is your morning line for Peter and his Miller. He does pick up or keep Juan aboard, JJ. So excellent jockey there. The GSR is a little suspect, but this horse has already won at 5.5 against similar in the graduation, and so I thought the top of the ticket was very chalky. The 2 and the 1, the D'Amato horse, Kyle Frey aboard, 5-2 on the E morning line, the 23% to win. And, working pretty well, but definitely a step up in class. And this horse showed no speed last time out, which is a little difficult sometimes at Del Mar. So I'm a little concerned about this horse and whether it can actually get there and how far behind it might be in this situation. And then I also liked, not on the board of the E picks, the 3 Timothy. The money bag. This just kind of feels like the kind of race that Doug O'Neill wins when you don't expect it. And this horse also has been working extremely well.
Kind of like on Saturday?
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like
what happened on Saturday?
Doug O'Neill horse won the Pacific Classic.
Oh, yes, I know. So we covered that race last week, right? In that 6-horse with Dory Manor, I can't remember her name, but that 6-horse almost won the race, right? The horse from Argentina. I talked about that horse. I was really proud. Yes.
Serrano.
Yes. Yeah.
Oldy, your final pick is the 2 in the win spot, right?
Yeah, the 2 is my top pick in this race. Okay. There you go. I'm 2-1-3.
All right, Justin.
Yeah, I welcome Bill, Dave, Kent, Rodney. Always good to see you. I love that everybody is here. I think on our Kentucky Downs races later, Oldy, we definitely have difference of opinion. So those races probably take us a little bit longer to get through, which is great because Kentucky Downs is amazing to watch. I don't disagree with Oldy at all, Chris, on our Heisman. I think Peter Miller have this horse ready to go. The GSR is fine. I mean, I know it's low, but I think an estate bred, has a shot. So I did think that that's my child saying hi 6 times. Hello, Grayson. I love that he came. Well, 7. I love that he came and said hi. But I thought our Heisman, I would probably have on top, although I did go separate underneath. I went to the Scotty Longshot in the 6 in Bodacious. And okay, G, we can see all the highs. Please minimize the highs. But I thought the Bodacious as the that had a shot on the pace. This horse was on the lead first out. I think probably has to have the lead. It did stop in a 72 back, Oldy, but I thought from the GSR and the win percent, and then if you look at the sim race, Oldy, maybe because I don't think we watched it yet. If you go to the stretch, the 6 and the 1 are right there, right? And I think that I thought that the 6, if on the lead here, and depending on what happens with the 2, should maybe finish well. But I was 2-6-1, but I was the Scotty picks, and I only used the 3, but I was 2-6-1, Chris.
All right. Looks like you guys are kind of centered in on where I was on all this as well. Let's get on to the next race, but before that, we'll take a quick transition. All right, so we're off to looks like Saturday at Del Mar, race number 5.
The 100,000. Actually, no, I'm one off here.
Yeah, you're one off there.
The Del Mar debutante.
Yeah, race number 4.
Stakes. And this is one of those classic. You got 2 Bafferts, so do you go with the Yak Team race? So you have the 2 and the 6, the E picks are both Bafferts. The Noonie has already won a grade 3, and you have Tenma, who is your E second pick, who rated first time out, and is probably dangerous here as well. And then for me, there is a Yak Team here, and he does have a habit of winning these Baffert races where there's more than one Baffert. So I'm just making note of that first before I talk about these horses. So from a GSR perspective, going 7 furlongs, Tenma is your top GSR. You see the square there. My top pick, I think Noonie's going to be hard to beat here. Just from the standpoint, but Noonie needs the lead. And if Vodka with the Twist, Noonie, and Proud Starlet all go at the same time, maybe it sets it up for Tenma. And that's, for me, when I try to see a upset like that, I imagine, okay, how could this happen? How would we see it happening? And for me, it would be if they all go and nobody gives up because they didn't get the lead and they just go too fast, then I think Tenma might be able to steal this race as the second Baffert. I see Justin shaking his head. He agrees. But I do think Noonie's probably the class here. Vodka with the Twist, won the debutante, and then, went with Noonie, but Noonie was just quicker last time out, and they both appear to need the lead, even though Vodka with a Twist didn't give up there. The insertion of Proud Starlet too here might make things a little tougher for Vodka with the Twist, who should get a preferred outside stalking trip, or pressing trip from the outside, but we'll see what happens there. I was 2-1-6 here, and I played the 1 as my second choice, just playing the Yak Team has a habit of winning these races when there's multiple Bafferts in a Yak Team there.
All right, Justin, what do you got?
I Oldy and I did somewhat agree, I think, on these first 2 races. I actually, I thought the Scotty picks had this race fairly good. I did think Noonie, probably the real deal from the race sim. It's Baffert, it's JJ, won the grade 3 Sorrento last out on the lead. Yeah, the race sim really has Noonie kind of smoking. She wins fairly easy on the race sim. I put the 6 second, though, Oldy, over the 1, mainly based on what you said. I think the other Baffert here, Kimura rides, won a maiden special last out, so never really easy to come back and win. But I do think there's a lot of pace here. I do think that the 4, though, Oldy, is my actual third pick and not the 1. I thought that Vodka with the Twist with Frezu did run in the Sorrento last out, right, with Noonie, and ran really well off the pace. And Mike Smith rides for D'Amato, I think probably gets a similar trip. But Chris, I thought that the race sim had it pretty locked in on 264. I'd play it. That was my picks in that order. So my only, I think, other comment, Rodney was asking Ollie and Chris about Jack's Magic Girl. Yeah, the 7. So, I mean, one last out, the win drops, but, she won really easy. And the GSR is good. So I think from a price perspective, I see the morning line is not showing up yet, but probably going to be around 10-1. I probably see her more underneath, Rodney. I'm not sure she can win, but I do think she could potentially hit the board, and for sure maybe hit the try.
All right, Oldy, let's see that race sim real quick. You don't have to show the whole race. Give us the first, second, third stretch calls.
Yeah, I think, Rodney, it's a tough group, but she is a nice horse. You can see that in the GSR, and she won first out easy. So, I mean, she's getting over to dirt coming from turf, and I think that's fine because she's bred both ways. So I see her more to, maybe hit the board in the super or the try versus winning.
All right, Oldy, what are your thoughts here?
Final thoughts, just, I think it's 216 or 261. I think that Jack's Magic Girl could get in the money, but I think she needs to be closer to the pace than we're estimating. Being about 4 lengths back at the stretch is too far back.
All right, Justin, you?
Chris, yeah, before we go, I do think I was 264. I do think the Sky Longshot vodka with the twist has a legit shot here. I really do. I know that Noonie going to be tough, but she ran well with her last out. So I know still lost fairly easily, but had worked up to that race really well. Obviously came out of it well. So I would not probably be singling Noonie here. Would be my overarching final comment. I would have to use more than just her. So
fair enough. All right, let's get on to the next race. Del Mar, Saturday, race 5. Ollie, I think you've got that up there on the screen.
Yep.
Go.
Yeah, so I liked an upset here. I like the 3 Entrada. If I'm saying that right, first time out winner overseas, comes in for Mark Glatt. Glatt is 30% first time with a horse. Picks up Mike Smith here. This horse is has a little speed, is a little tactical. The E morning line is picking this up as 7-2 as well. So there's definitely something within the data picking this horse up as well. It's not just that it's only 4% there. And I just thought that some of these horses were vulnerable, and the release speed here for 8 furlongs that could benefit a horse that can sit a little bit.
Justin?
Go ahead, Justin.
Ollie, you can if Ollie. Well, I mean, I guess I'll chime in and we can talk about our other couple picks, Chris. Yeah. I agreed with Ollie. I did think that the 2 thought process might be vulnerable. I do think that she will run a great race. I put her best bet of the week, the Raiders +3. My gosh. Chris, aren't you a Raiders fan?
I am. You want me to put the hat on? It's right over there.
I did think thought process. I had her and second. I actually put the 7 super speed on top. Probably a little bit of a similar angle, Oli, as the 3 that you're using. JJ rides for Sadler, and Berrios rode first out, and now JJ gets aboard and hits at 22% for Sadler. Is 5-2 on the morning line versus 6-1 morning line. I'm likely probably going to take money. I know that the GSR drops on the stretch out. I think that's the biggest concern. This horse might just be a sprinter, But I thought versus this group, that she definitely fit. Louisiana bred. I mean, it was a bit of a sneaky kind of race. I did think, Chris, though, that I thought this race was tough. So, Oldy, I don't necessarily disagree that the 3 might run well. I do think the 2 would run well. And then in my third pick, Oldy, I used the 12 actually. So I thought that Sea Runner does show up in the EquinEdge second pick, and I thought with a lot of pace here that the 12 horse and Sea Runner might be this is a maiden, but
Yeah.
Might be able to has this great GSR of 75 for Yakteen and Rispoli. And if all this speed sits here and if Rispoli can find a spot after the break, which I think he'll be able to, I think with all the speed, he can slide in the second group and likely will benefit from all the pace. And so that was where I was also on the picks, Chris, but I was 7-2-4 or 7-2-12. Sorry.
7-2-12. Oldie, final thoughts here. What were you thinking?
So let me tell you why I didn't use Sea Runner first. So number one, the wide post on the turf at Del Mar, I didn't like here. That was number one. Number two, I typically don't like gun runners on the turf. So those were two that I tossed that horse completely from my list. I mean, obviously ran pretty decently first time out, but I was 3-2-5 here. I thought the 5 could hang on for a piece potentially, but I don't love it with the GSR drop. But stuck it in third there because I thought it just may hang on for a piece. I thought the 2 is probably going to get sped up enough where the 2 is going to be vulnerable, and that's where I thought the 3 was the best of those remaining horses. But I could see the 7 as well. It makes sense.
There you go. All right, we're going to transition. We'll still stay at Del Mar. We're going to race 9 on Saturday. Oldie, take us through it. Didia.
All right.
Our friend Didia.
4-5 on the morning line, 3-5 on the morning line. Top SOR, 1-for-2 at the distance. This race was, even though we picked 3 horses, this was really looks like a 2-horse race between Anisette and Didia. So, from a pace standpoint, it also looks paceless. So, one of the elements here might be who gets the lead here. So, Anisette's a grade 1 winner, multiple grade 1s, but they were weaker races than the race Didia won at Saratoga on Belmont Day. So, Didia gets Barrios instead of Jose, though, so that is a downgrade in terms of, well, Barrios is pretty good on the turf, but still a downgrade from Jose there on the rider switch. It can be tactical. I think there's a good chance Didia hopes that somebody else grabs the lead and she can sit right off there. So, I don't want to spend too much time just on the chalk here. You have a huge GSR on Anisette. I was 6-1, and then I thought the 4 could get in the money as well. Finished second in a grade 2 last time out at 8.5, second off the layoff also for D'Amato.
All right, a couple things before I throw it to Justin. I think Barrios is a good option. Jose probably was never going to leave Kentucky Downs. I'm guessing he's got live mounts of the weekend. Makes sense to go with a local guy. Barrios would be that dude. Could be a springboard for him if he wins for John Stewart in Resolute Racing. So I kind of disagree with you on the jock downgrade there, just because of the localness. I think this race comes down to East Coast, West Coast turf, and who's better, right? We're going to find out how good Anisette is versus a Didia ship in. And so, Justin, with that, I'll throw it over to you.
Yeah, I don't. I think, as I said, Oldy, you and I agreed a lot on these Del Mar races. I thought Didia would be tough here. Good luck, Mr. John Stewart, with Resolute Racing and that whole crew. She's the real deal. I'm happy for them. And she didn't win last out, but that was an 80, right? SOR, Oldy. So I think, to your point, she is coming, it looks like, from tougher races here, from Anisette that's been running at Santa Anita and Del Mar. So, I think she's just the better horse. I'm assuming that Barrios is going to send, Oldie. And if she get the lead, she get the lead. Scotty and I actually talked about this last week, and I don't mind Hector Barrios on the lead. He is highly capable, and he knows what he's doing on the turf. He actually was in the last race today at Del Mar on the 5 horse, and that horse got bet from like 15-1 to 2-1, but then the horse scratched. If anybody was playing Del Mar, and then the 4 horse ended up winning there. But I just think she's too tough here. I think she's fit. She's ready. She's on to, she's probably I would say she might be a single. I know she's only 33%. It would be my only concern. And Oldie, you talked about it. My only other concern is the paceless race perspective. And she has not won on the lead in a long time. She's been right off the lead. And Oldie, she might sit that trip. But I think that if I'm the connections here, I'm telling Hector to get out of the gate, send. If you get the lead, great, because she's the classiest horse. And, I'm like, don't let somebody else dictate the pace here. You're much the best. I would rather be on the lead if I'm Hector, because he does ride good on the lead. I know that Scotty kind of prefers him off the pace, but I actually think he won on one of the horses that I used last week. I can't remember if it was Conclude on the lead, or I can't remember, but he's great on the lead. So I'm with you, Oldie. I think Anisette, and Cork, the Sky Long Shot, I think you and I were the same here, 6-1-4. I think it's probably to hit the board, but I think Didia is probably the real deal.
One thing I will say about Didia is, Oldie, if you go down and look at those Bruno works there, you've got a 3-star and a 4-star coming into this. Definitely fit, definitely ready to go. It should be a great race. Oldie, your final picks here on this race were
6-1-4, and note here as well, if you look at the Bruno work along the lines of what Justin was saying, speed from the 5 furlong pole, so that they were working her a little for speed here as well.
Yep.
So that, maybe that they know that this race wasn't going to have that much pace in it. So,
there is no pace though, Oldie. I think that's why the win percents are like spread out like that, because it's like, what's going to happen?
She did win the Pegasus Filly and Mare Turf this year on the lead too.
Yeah, and Barrios, I got 3 words for you. The Trojan Brawn. He knows how to ride these horses on the lead, off the pace, especially at Del Mar, doing well. Justin, final picks this race?
Yeah, same as Oldie, 6-1-4.
All right. We're going to move on to the next race here. Let me click the button and we'll get there. Going to Gulfstream, race 6 on Saturday. You guys are kind of somewhat far apart here in terms of top picks. I think you're kind of underneath. You kind of got the same. I'm going to let you guys go here for a few minutes while I take a brief break, and I will be right back.
So Gulfstream race 6, there's 2 state-bred stakes races on Saturday at Gulfstream. 2-year-olds going 6 furlongs. The Florida Sire Desert Vixen Stakes. So I went away from the Scotty picks here and decided to try to beat the 1 horse, Win and You're In, who, for David has won 2 in a row, including an open stakes against SOR 68 about a month ago. My top pick is the 3 R Morning Brew for Safi and Zayas. It's twice I've done that already. Notice the eye closes like I'm wearing an eye patch. I just like the works on this horse, as well as winner first time out. It's set, keeps Zayas aboard, nice GSR. And I thought this horse maybe might be one of those Safi horses at Gulfstream. So I thought it was worth taking a chance of beating the 1-to-1 favorite, the one horse winning you're in here, with the 3 R Morning Brew. And then underneath, I thought the 6 was a good candidate to just pick up a piece here, even though there are some big works here. This horse second off the layoff, Jaramillo's aboard, so it's that this horse is going to be forwardly placed. And I think it's really between those 3 horses, the 1, the 6, and the 3.
I agree, Oldy. What did I put on top? I had the 1 on top. I did think that the 1 would be tough here. I don't think that winning you're in, I do not think that she needs the lead. So I think she can just stock off the pace where the 3 might go to the front, Oldy, with the 6, and the 1 might just sit the trip. So I think the race sim has this fairly locked in. I thought that the 1 of 52 and 1 of 68, and she romped in both. Wasn't really even close. And this shows up as a 66. So she's getting an easier group. It's a small field. There's only 7 horses here. So I just, and Vasquez, again, he's been riding. So I just thought she'd be really tough. The GSR's fine. I actually had the 6 second. I thought that, if something does happen, I think Jaramillo is probably the one to get the lead. But maybe the 6 does. But Broker Maiden has the experience. So Ollie, I was mainly going against the 3 because, she just broke her maiden and facing the 1 who has easily won stakes, and then the 6 who ran well last out in that stakes race. So, and had faced the 1. So I was 1-6-3, but I really thought that with the 3, I guess the question mark here is this horse going to get the lead, or is it going to try to rate? And that's how I thought that the 1 would be very tough, because either way, that horse is, if the horse breaks good and gets the lead, it's going to be tough. If the others break and it wants to just save ground, I thought it'd be tough. So I just thought that 3 was kind of the horse that was a question mark, other than I do agree with you. It does have a great GSR and looks to be working well. So I think it's between those 3.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time we saw a Safi Joseph horse step up like we saw today at Kentucky Downs. I don't remember what race it was, but it was a 16K claim out of Tampa in April that wins at $200,000 today.
Chris, on this race, before we leave, getting back to the 6 with Jose Pinchin and Jaramillo's riding, I love that you're getting a great price, and the GSR is only in the 60s, but I think that's okay. He's going to be right there, and he might get the opportunity to, decide what to do being in an outside post. So versus this group of jockeys, you do have, the 3 kind of best guys currently at the meet, I would say, riding here. So, but I really, Oldy, I thought the 1 could be tough just because she was so proven and she's made it look so easy.
Well, when you talk about a lightly raced of 2-year-old fillies here, a lot can happen, right? You've got horses that are second-time starters and whatnot that can dramatically improve performance here. But Oldy, where did you end up here? What were your finals picks?
3-1-6.
And Justin?
1-6-3.
All right, all right. We're going to move on to Gulfstream race 10 here in just a second. Once I click the button. There we go. Gulfstream Park, race 6, another stakes. What do you guys got?
All right.
Sorry.
So this is the Dr. Fager Stakes. Also for 2-year-olds and 100K state bred Florida Stakes here. So, for me, the E picks looked pretty good here. I, in this race, went with the chalk on the morning line, even though the E morning line thinks the 4 is the chalk, and went with the 8 rated by merit. So, rated by merit, also your second choice and second win percentage, won by a huge margin first time out as a maiden, moving up obviously in class here for Yates with Rios aboard. The being Cone with Jaramillo, with the horse that first off the layoff finished second in the Proud Man, and also was run at Saratoga. This horse has had some start troubles and been 7 and 8 wide. That concerned me on the Gulfstream turf, or not turf, I mean dirt, as not where you want to be. And that's the reason I actually chose the 8 above the 1 here. And then I thought the 7, Just Relax, could get a piece or get in the money. I realize it's a maiden for D'Angelo, but if you look here, decent GSR. This horse is working, has some fast and decent works, and just missed first time out, and dead heated for second place. This horse showed there that it may not need the lead off the experience with Edwin aboard. I thought with the outside trip, the 7 might be dangerous here as well.
Yeah, getting dry dirt as well, likely tomorrow,
yes,
instead of a sloppy surface. So, Justin, talk to us.
Yeah. Let's see here. I thought that the Oldy, I know you talked about the 8, who's the current morning line favorite. I thought that I had the 1 on top. Jaramillo rides here for Bincone. I mean, 1 of 50 easy, right, on the lead, but I don't think this horse probably needs a lead based on that last effort, and Jaramillo rode, and then Irad rode, and then Jaramillo rode again. And, Jaramillo was able to stock the pace, going to be an inside post, so can probably save some ground and find a good spot versus the speed, because, he's going to have speed in front of him. So I thought that the 1 would be tough. Really, he ran well last out in that 66. I mean, nearly won. So, I mean, has the experience. In second, though, I thought that the 4-horse, Oldie, and we didn't talk about, but a big morning line angle here, Candy Crumbs. And, I like seeing this in races like this for a couple reasons. So, Zayas rides, which I like. He does hit at 20% for Mary, Leitner. You see her name at Gulfstream. She, only hits at 11. And then with Zayas, she has live mounts. So I was like, okay, you have, an opportunity to kind of stock the pace. I think, did win a stakes as a maiden last out. So they knew that Candy Crumbs was well met here. That was a 68. And didn't break well at all. Like I want to watch the race. I haven't watched it, but gets the extra half furlong. That's not going to be a problem. I thought that she was right there. I really struggled between the 1 and 4 on top, Chris. So I was 1-4 on the top. I just thought that this is the horse that's going to get overlooked. And I would not be surprised on the morning line if you get a good price. I don't think this horse is going to, because I think the 8 will take money and I think the 1 will take money, Oldie. I think those morning lines will kind of wash each other out a little bit. And I think the 4 horse is the horse that might even come in as the 3rd or 4th choice. I really do think we'll get a good price here. So, and then in my 3rd choice, Chris, was the 8. So I won't spend any more time. I was trying to beat the favorite here with the 1 or the 4, but 1, 4, and then 8 underneath.
I think we all could agree that in this particular race, there are a number of horses probably that could step up and produce a win. I do like your picks, and it's very sound. So, Oldy, final thoughts here before we move on to the next one.
Well, I also thought, so I tossed the 2 altogether. So this is my final thought, because Zayas chose to be on the, you have to figure that both the 2 and the 3, the Safi horse and the Pinchin horse that Zayas got off, wanted Zayas aboard. So the fact that he chose the 4 made me not like those 2 horses.
I think that's why the 4 is sneaky, though. That's why I think seeing that morning line like that. I know that, Oldy, before we go to the next race, if you go to the race sim real quick, I think that, the 4 doesn't necessarily run great, but if this horse gets some pace and on the Gulfstream dirt, gets the right trip, cannot break and just fall back, right? I think but if Zayas can get this horse to break and not be way back, and so see, the race sim doesn't really have it closing, and it does have it closing, but not to win. But I think with the morning line like that and coming from 5.5 and the stretch out, I think she has this horse ready, one at 6-1. And I mean, I would love to get 3, 4, 5-1 on this horse. So,
all right, little difference of opinion here. We're going to get out to the next one right now. All right, next race, last one at Gulfstream on Saturday. That would be.
No, we did that one.
Okay, we're done. Moving on to Kentucky Downs. That'll be Saturday, race 6.
Yeah, I thought this race was ripe for an upset. Chop Chop, big GSR, been around a long time. Mostly is disappointed. Won a grade 3, 4 back, but since then hasn't been able to get home. And that's kind of been the story of Chop Chop's career, is mostly burning money. So I thought this was a race where you might find something. I went with the 4 Greenfinch for Aiden O'Brien with the Tory aboard. Stretching out, has run and nearly won at 10 furlongs. Has run longer at 12. Fitness shouldn't be an issue here, and is by Justify. I just thought that this 4 horse might just outclass these here coming in from Europe. Beyond that, I thought the 6 for Graham and His Motion, even though this horse hasn't won in a little while, it's 2 of 2 at the distance, does have a win at Kentucky Downs in a grade 3 last year at the distance. And I thought that was an important handicapping factor here. Gets gaff as well. And I just preferred where this horse will be sitting to where Chop Chop's likely to be sitting. And then I also like the 7. So the 6 was your second win percentage and your second choice. And then I also like the 7 for Reed here, who has been running against grade 1 and very good grade 2 company, and nearly won was right there in the Beverly D at a price at 9.5 furlongs. And I thought this horse might continue to run similarly and either might get up or might run underneath for a second or third here.
Fair enough. Justin?
Yeah, you gotta love Kentucky Downs. Whether it's during the week or on the weekend. I put the 3 on top, Oldy. I worry about the pace in this race, and if you let Irad or Ortiz get on the lead, which is likely to happen here, I know that Angel Nadeshiko is on the race sim really backing up, but she's going to set the pace of the race for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's for sure happening. She is fit. She's coming off a small layoff, but I don't worry about that with Safi. Safi's got her, Oldy, and she has improved in the last couple races. They were on the synthetic last out, so I do like that they flipped back to the turf. And, she has stopped in the 70 and 72, 3 and 4 back. But she was also going 8.5, and then she was going 11. So shows up here at 10.5. I think from a GSR perspective, I think it's going to be okay. Her top GSR is 10 furlongs. So it's what I tried to do. I was really combining the algorithms. I'm like, okay, if on the race sim she gets just this easy lead, and you let Irad just kind of gallop out there, what's going to happen? So. But I think, Oldy, you talked about Vergara. The 6 was my second. It might have been my second or third choice. Looking was my third choice was the 6. So I struggle with Chop Chop. I do think she can be beat, but I think that she's the Oldy. My only, and then let's go back to let's talk about the 2 and then the 6. Chop Chop come out way tougher races. And, the Glen Falls, I don't know what that race is over at Delaware Park, but it did show up as a 78. So for whatever reason, it was competitive. And so she's likely going to have all this pace that's in front of her. And so I don't think who's riding Pratt. I can't remember.
That's right.
Yeah, Flavian riding, and he's riding. Joe Sharp on fire as a trainer at Kentucky Downs, and then Flavian Pratt continually is on fire. And I didn't get to see a lot today, but I just thought she was facing so much easier. Oldy, I don't think she's a single though. I do think she can be beat. The third horse was the 6, and you already talked about it, but she's also dropping. And that was a great race last out at Delaware Park. Similar race the same race that Chop Chop who came out? That's Chop Chop come out of that same race? Yes, 2 back, July 7th. So, she ran well. It's a big GSR. You got to love the price you're probably going to get with Gaff. So, I definitely was on the picks, but of a little bit of a different order, Oldy. And I do think that if the 3 does get really loose here, and, she's coming from easier races, but speed is dangerous. And we will look at some more races later at Kentucky Downs where there is a ton of pace. Like some of these other turf races have a ton of speed. So, but in Kentucky Downs, a lot of times will favor speed. So I just thought there wasn't a lot of pace here. So 3, 2, 6, Chris.
Oldy, final thoughts? Race 6 before we move on.
On the long shot, the 3 horse, the thing that put me away from that horse, even though I know that its top GSR is 10 furlongs, was that 11 furlong effort's really the worst effort the horse has had. And I just think it may not want to go beyond 9 furlongs. The 9 and 8.5 efforts just look better to me.
Yeah.
That's the reason I threw that horse out there. But I do think that Aidan O'Brien has some really live horses tomorrow, starting with the 4 horse Greenfinch here. And there are a couple others that I liked as well. And, with the Tory riding here, I think that there's going to be a really strong trip there. I know because it's a foreign horse, the E picks may not be picking, or the win percentage might not be picking it up.
Okay, so final numbers.
4, 6, 7 for me.
3, 2, 6.
We're staying at Kentucky Downs. We're going to race 7. I'm going to mix it up here. Justin, you go first.
I love it. So I kind of struggle with this race a little bit, mainly because there's these AEs, Oldy. So
Yeah.
I'm going to force you all the way down to my top pick in the 15 horse if this horse can draw in. Luis Saez rides for D'Angelo. This horse is a pure sprinter. I mean, we want to talk about a sprinter. This horse is a sprinter. So if you look at the GSRs, big numbers on the sprint tab, 55. You'll have to click in the GSR plus, but you can see it there in the PPs actually too. So, is going to have speed here. I thought that the other speed looked kind of weak, and the 3, I know it's the Scotty long shot, but the 6 and 1 or maybe some of the other speed. But I thought that the AEs in this race, I all thought, out of some of the other races, I thought you kind of had to pay attention to. So, but the 15 has been on fire, winning Saez D'Angelo. I think that she the real deal. And that GSR tells us. So I have the 15 top with the if she can get in. I put Buttercream Babe second. I think that I was trying to get my notes back. Okay, here we go. So, Irad Maker, she got a big GSR too. I think, Broker Maiden at Kentucky Downs. I love seeing that. I think has experience there. I do love the name. I followed her for a while. She ran versus Crown Imperial, or the one horse in a stakes. If you look back, so Buttercream Babe ran versus the one who's a big shot, but that was back in a 74 stakes race a while ago at Kentucky Downs off the maiden win when she won last year. And so my thought process here with Buttercream Babe, Oldy, is she's been facing tougher after breaking her maiden at Kentucky Downs, and she did run well when she started her career. And she's had some huge clunkers. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf did not run in that allowance race, but that was on dirt. So chuck it. Just chuck the dirt race, right? So if you chuck the turf and you chuck the dirt race, and then you look at her form, I think that Maker Irad are extremely dangerous here. I think she's going to sit a good trip. I think she has, tactical kind of speed. She's going to be able to sit off the lead. She can be able to sit right there. And we talked about Irad a second ago, but I think that she's cutting back. There's this speed that's going to be up there. I think she could set a dream trip. And then in third, I struggled. We're trying to give 3 picks. So the 15, the 8, I thought that the 2 and the 10. So if the 15 can't get in with Saez, he's going to ride the 10 probably for Eddie Keenley. And, an 8-1 morning line versus a 15-1 morning line, has one off the pace. I thought similar to Buttercream Babe, could set a really good trip, has a great GSR like I like to see. And then in the race sim, I think she's right there. She is with Buttercream Babe. So, Oldy, if you hop to the race sim real quick, this is for everybody kind of watching, and we appreciate everybody here. I know we haven't interacted a lot. I've been using, Oldy, the race sim a lot with GSR and pace when I've been playing Kentucky Downs. And so to be able to see Simply in front right there and see that win 3 back in a 66, I thought that she could also sit the trip similar to Buttercream Babe. So, if the 15 gets in, I think she's tough. I think the 8, the 10, and then the only other horse that I will mention. So in this race, I had 4 picks, was the 2, Kiara, Sharita Vo, Jose Ortiz. Jose stays in Kentucky Downs on Saturday. We talked about that with him not going out to Del Mar to ride Didia, right? So he'll stay here. Lightly raced, hit the board 4 times in 6 tries. She's been improving, nearly won last out. She's on the inside post, and Jose going to be able to save ground, but he's going to be right there. And Cherie has been on fire. I don't know how she's done at Kentucky Downs. Is only 6%, but that would have been my fourth choice, Oldies. So 15, 8, 10, 2.
All right, before we get over to Oldie here, we're at halftime of the Thursday night kickoff of the National Football League. I don't know if we can give the score and not violate copyright, but
no, you can give the score. That's not a copyright.
Looks like 13-10 at halftime in favor of the Chiefs. Oldie, we'll go over to you. Justin, I will point out with your maker horse, I believe he's the all-time winning trainer at Kentucky Downs.
Oh,
At least in the last few years. So, Oldie, throw it at you.
All right. Justin, I'm actually surprised you weren't on the long shot here because I love the long shot, the 3-horse Time to Dazzle here with the 18 points in pace advantage. So,
yeah, but my only comment, Oldie, is you got to worry about those AEs because if you go look at all the AEs, I think most of them are pace, Oldie. So that was, if I remember, that was why I did not really prefer the 3 here. But that I just thought it'd be somebody to sit close, like the 2, 8, 10, and again. But keep going.
All right. So, Time to Dazzle for Cassie is a grade 3 winner at a mile. So they, should be fit. Second off the layoff, has Santana, who's an excellent on the lead rider as well. I just think that this horse could get away. I mean, even won a non-winner of 1 on the synthetic, so that this horse has some flexibility in terms of surface as well. Top win percentage, long shot, top pace here. And then I was on the 9, the top choice Pounce. These are both Cassie horses. And one thing I know here about with the Cassie horses is the 3's going to go no matter what, because if the 3 doesn't go, then it doesn't set it up for the 9.
Yes, and Pounce, Oldie, our friends at Resolute Racing.
Yes, another Resolute Racing horse. Dylan Davis riding, and we all know he's been riding amazing. So I was really impressed by the fact that Dylan Davis was riding. This horse is a multiple grade 3 winner for Cassie as well, including 1 win at Gulfstream and 1 at Saratoga. I'm throwing out that Penn Oaks effort because they put the horse up on the lead, and I don't really think that's where the horse wants to be. So the 9 Pounce, second choice, and then I like the 4 Pipsy for William Walden with Rosario aboard. I just think you could get one of those Rosario rides here where we've had some really bad ones. There was one today where the horse checked all the way to last when he tried to make a middle move. But I just think you could get one of those positive rides here. I also have a note on this horse, the Monster Late Kick 1 to watch when it's on its first race in the U.S. And then they decided to take the horse to the lead at Churchill in the top end. This horse is by Kodiak. And I think that this horse is at 10%, one of those double-digit win percentage horses that's going to be very dangerous. And not only underneath, but a chance to win. And I think you get all of 6 to 1, if not more here.
All right. We were 9 minutes on this race here. So let's wrap this up. Oldie, final picks, and then we'll get to Justin's.
3, 9, 4.
Justin?
15, 8. I think it was 10, 2. And Chris, before we go, Cryptolite talked about the 1 Crown Imperial. So that was my, if you look back at the 1, the reason why I wasn't really a fan of the 1, but it's why I did like the 8, was the 1 did win that Kentucky Downs race. And that was the race I spoke to that Buttercream Bame come out of Broker Maiden at me in Kentucky Downs, and then dropped into that stakes and ran really well. Imperial, Crown Imperial won that race off the pace, like a pure pace setup, and did win by a length. But she has just a monster GSR, and she gets back to 6.5. So to make the case there, I mean, is she just love Kentucky Downs and she's going to get a pace setup? I'm not sure I see it this time, to be honest. Yeah. And I know, Oldy, you like the speed. So if that's the case, you're not really on, but the angle there from EquinEdge is getting back to 6.5 in that massive GSR jump. And that was her last win. So, but Oldy, go ahead.
I just think the horse may not have matured from 2 to 3. And the races this year have been subpar.
I'm with you. Yeah, 15-8, 210, Chris. 15-8, 210.
All right, moving on to the next race. Oh, no. Well, that was the wrong click. There we go.
All right.
Okay, so we're off to Kentucky Downs, race 8. We've got a few more to go. A lot of graded stakes, nice action at Kentucky Downs this weekend. You guys are in some contention that I can see here. So, Oldy, I'll start it off with you, and I'll give you guys a few minutes and join you back in a couple.
Yeah. So the Mint Million, the main event of the day, so to speak, in terms of the way the card is arranged. I like the big upset here. I like the Irish Aces, the 3-horse on top for Brendan Walsh.
Wait, is that horse going to race though, Oldy, or is it going to scratch?
As far as I know, as far as I know, most of these horses that raced a little over a week ago are running. So, I liked Irish Aces here for Walsh. You're absolutely right. The horse could scratch. But what I had heard was that this horse was in. I liked the race last time out, even the effort the previous time at Saratoga. I think this horse is moving forward, and that is going to continue that move forward with a big upset win here. And the horse really ran to its works on the 29th at Kentucky Downs. We already know it likes Kentucky Downs from that race. Then I'm on the 2 Mountain Bear, who I told you I'm on a lot of the Aidan O'Brien horses here. This one is 10-1 on the morning line. You rarely get that kind of price on an Aidan O'Brien horse when it ships to the U.S. This horse has been running in grade 1s, grade 3s, almost won a grade 3 against 70 SOR last time out, comes in here, gets to Torrey. I think that this horse is a great candidate for an upset here, and just hasn't gotten there on the softer turf, but did run pretty well in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf at San Anita on November 3rd of last year, and did show that the firm turf is something this horse likes. Mountain Bear, the 2.
Well, what are your thoughts though before you keep going. Finish. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, and then my third pick is the first choice, Talk of the Nation, who didn't win the Arlington Million, didn't win the Kelso, just seems to be coming up short mostly for Pletcher, but does have IRAD aboard, will be forwardly placed. So, and did win the Gun Runner, the $1 million Gun Runner at Kentucky Downs last year. So, I think this horse is dangerous here. I think, again, you're going to get a decent price here, and that this horse likely won't be your favorite. So I was 3-2-8 here. Big GSR, by the way, on the 8.
Yeah, I have the 8 on top. I guess I'm laying on a lot of IRAD horses so far. I think that's 3 out of maybe 4 races? I don't know. But I think that, getting back to talk of the nation, Oldy, I mean, has a big GSR, has won at Kentucky Downs. It's interesting that was his last win, right? In the gun runner has, and been facing really tough though. That again, I was looking at it from an SOR perspective. I mean, this is where I like with the link feature. I don't know who was in those races. And so, but that Kelso so tough. And then you look at the Arlington Million, and I've seen a few of these races. We have horses coming from the Arlington Million, and he ran 4th, right? I mean, it was only a 6-horse field, but I thought that Talk of the Nation would be really tough. I like the GSR. I think the 8 just misses to the 3-horse Irish Aces, Ollie, who you had on top, right? On the race sim. So that was a 2% horse, and I saw, okay, is this horse really going to wheel back, on the 3? But I thought that Talk of the Nation had the experience at the track. I thought we'll be able to get probably a similar trip. Maybe, doesn't have to, probably going to be somewhat close to the lead from there. But, and then underneath, I use the 6 and 1, I believe. So the 6, it's my, we hit big with Flo last week though, Oldie, and he was much the best on the 9, who ended up getting put up with the DQ, which was amazing because that would have been heartbreaking. 22-1, right, off a 5-2 EE morning line. That horse was semi-green, and Jose came out a lot with the 5, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm landing on a Flo horse here. So is going to be the pace. I think this horse needs the lead though. So I think with the 11 having speed, but I didn't really like the 11. I thought the 6 from a Scotty Longshot. And if you look back at those past races, Oldie, also coming out of the 4-star Dave and then coming out of the Manhattan, and has speed, has a GSR, has a race underneath his belt, and they ship in here. And so I thought had a big shot. I think probably needs the lead though. That'd be the biggest concern. But with the 11 being way out there, and I think we'll have Pratt. I do think that Flo might get the lead, so we'll have to see. And then the 1 horse was the other horse that I looked at, which Emmanuel, only 5%. But Oldie, if you flip to the race sim real quick and just go to the stretch and then go to the finish. So I think at the and then expand it real quick up top so we can see it. Yeah. So all these horses, they are right there. Like that's where I just thought this Mint Million was insanely difficult. We didn't even talk about Ancient Rome, and I won't, but you see the 4-horse Cash Equity is like closing, so I'm like, well, there's going to be a lot of pace here. Probably it has the 3s, the horse getting up, which is your top pick. And if that horse draws in, it would not surprise me. But then you sit here with the 1, the 9, the 11, the 7, the 6, and the 8. And so getting back, I thought Emmanuel with Jose going to be on the rail, will be able to probably, save ground with all of the pace. It's Maker. We talked about Maker a little bit ago, Chris, at Kentucky Downs, and ran great in the United Nations. Oldie was coming off the pace. So I think, I'm using, the 8 really classy, sit probably close to the lead, and Talk of the Nation, the 6 probably going to be up near the lead. And I would say if a horse can close, I think it's between your 3. If somebody does come off the pace in this race, your 3 and the 1 Emmanuel was where I looked. So,
all right.
8-6-1, Chris.
8-6-1 for Justin. Oldie, where are you at?
3-2-8, and I think don't overlook Mountain Bear, the 2 for Aidan O'Brien there as a horse that can close there.
Okay, we're going to get over to the next race. I will click the right button this time. There we go. We're going to Kentucky Downs, race 9, grade 1.
Grade 1, Aristocrat Franklin Simpson Stakes. So
tons
here,
of speed again, Oldy. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, like, go ahead though, keep going.
yeah, no, this race is loaded with speed. So, I mean, you have Joe Shiesty, you have Bear River. Bear River, you mentioned in the chat as well as a possible upset horse. Apollo 10's very fast. Hedgewick's very fast. But so for me, I went to the 10, Howard Wolwitz, as my top choice here for D'Angelo. Did kind of show that this horse might be able to close and might not need the lead last time out at Saratoga. I think will benefit from the extra furlong here as well as the outside trip, and IRAD here as an upgrade over Vasquez and Jaramillo. So my top choice was the 10 here, and then I was taking horses mostly from behind. Next, again, another foreign horse, but is going to the Maker Barn for this race, and that's the 2-horse Evade, the French horse, was grade 1 placed, and did run in a pretty good allowance group here. This is a pretty big drop in class. Did win at Epsom against 68 SOR, going 7 furlongs. So I think this horse could be very dangerous here at a 12-1 on the morning line and 5-1 on the EE morning line. And then underneath, I like the 11 Mansa Musa for Bill and his mom. Almost won a grade 3. This again getting class relief here at 5.5. Running at 5.5 to 6.5 here. I just thought that this horse from the outside could sit a nice trip and be able to pounce on the leaders, on the tired leaders.
All right, Justin, thoughts?
Yeah, a few things. I think this sequence is going to be amazing, to be honest. If you play a horizontal, like we're talking, right, Oldy, 3-4 horses max. I do have a couple races. This one I'll cover 4, but Chris, this is tough. I mean, it's a great. I love these races because they are so competitive. So Oldy, go to the race sim again, right? And if you go to the stretch, you can run it however you want, but the 1 and 6 are right there. I'm going to put Apollo 10 on top, the Scotty Longshot. It's Tyler Gaff and Christopher Clement, but then Oldy, go to the finish. And this is where, Chris, my point, I'm like, oh my goodness. This race is so Oldy, you and I are predominantly, I think, on different horses, but they're all right there. So it's not surprising. I think was my kind of comment. So I put Apollo 10, I think can sit the trip. If Oldy, I don't think this horse needs the lead. Tyler Gaff broke, or Manny Franco broke the maiden for Clement, but Gaff rides first time, but Gaff going to get a good mount here. I think this is a good mount for Gaff and Clement. I think that, he's probably been looking at this race. I mean, I know he went to Presque Isle, but you then get over to the turf and, this is the real deal from a GSR. It did win a 68 and it improved in a 74. This race showing up as a 68, Oldy, on the SOR. And, maybe that's why it's so competitive, but I'm like, man, I mean, the win percent goes down, but Apollo 10 nearly won last out. And I mean, in a 9-horse field and with a price. So I thought could sit off of the speed, but be close. I mean, going to be right there, but I don't think needs the lead. I think the 5 and 7 both need the lead. I'll talk about the 5 in a minute, but I thought that yellow card as the second Scotty pick, is a massive price, 15-1. And I know it's McCarthy, but Johnny V ride here, and this horse is lightly raced. And, it has a 65 GSR, which I think this horse might want to go shorter. But I do think this horse is going to be fit, and I think is extremely sneaky. Like, you have Johnny V that gets them out, right? And, he's highly capable. He's not rode. Corrales and Irad have rode. So that this horse is talented to be able to draw Corrales and break its maiden at Turfway Park, and then draws Corrales second or at Churchill and wins easy. But, is this horse going to get 6.5 at Kentucky Downs? I mean, I'm hoping it's fit. I'm hoping that can, decide what to do, and I think has the ability to come off the pace. So I thought in a really tough race to show up in the second spot, Oldy, and being able to show that this horse wins the race sim, Oldy. If you go back to the race sim, the 4 wins the race sim. But it's so close, right? I think so. At a price, I love Yellow Card. I really do. And then I'll only talk about 2 others, but I'll make it kind of fast. The 9 and 5, both prices. If you talk Bear River, it's an EquinEdge horse to watch. It's silver. Oldie on the 5 first. Sorry, I think needs the lead. But if James Graham get the lead here, it could be dangerous. Like, speed can be dangerous. There's a lot of speed, but I thought that James Graham on the 5 over the 7. But Bear River comes over from Colonial and Ellis Park, and Joe Shiesty coming over from Ellis Park. But I went more to Bear River. GSR is okay as a price, and then the only other one was the 9, and this is a pure GSR play. I think that if you're spreading and you have Corrales, who is highly capable, riding a 99 GSR for a horse that's third off the layoff and hasn't been winning in a very insanely competitive 6.5 at Kentucky Downs. How do these horses win? This is how these horses win, because it's a 99 GSR. And this horse is bred for 6.5, and it's been running 6.5. And where did it win? It won a stakes at Kentucky Downs after it broke its maiden. And you're going to get a price. I don't know what type of price. Maury's obviously capable at 22%. So, Chris, I struggled. Oli, I struggled a little bit, but I was 6, 4, and then also the 5 and 9 is prices. So 6, 4, 9, 5.
All right, Oldy, final thoughts here before we get to the next one.
Wide open race. Think you can get a price 10 to 11 for me.
All right, let me get to the cut here, and we will get to the next one. All right, so Kentucky Downs, Saturday again, race 10, grade 2. You guys are on the same horse here, so this one, you're on the same horse on the top, different underneath. Oldie, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so I just thought, so the top win percentage, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this name, Sugi, something like that. The 5 horse here, it's got some, has shown the ability to rate a little bit as well. For Maker, has won at 12 furlongs, which I think we all think this might be a little longer than 12 furlongs for with the hill at Downs. Has IRAD aboard as well, which I thought you have to take into account. So this 5 horse I just thought might be better than these horses. I know Integration, big, not price, but big, low morning line here, but really hasn't backed up that contention here. Does have a huge GSR, always has a huge GSR, and just hasn't been winning these races. Was the favorite in the Pegasus Turf against 78s, didn't win. Was right there as the second or third choice in the Maker's Mark Mile. favorite in the Million Power one there, but that was a much weaker group against 70 SORs. And for me, just isn't the type of horse that I like on top. I like this horse somewhere underneath in second or third place. So
All right.
that was actually my third choice. And then I was on Chief Little Rock, the 11 here, again for Aidan O'Brien, as my second choice. Pattern here, the Coolmore horses shipping in with Dettori. This is a grade 3 winner at 10 furlongs, has raced it against grade 2s at Ascot, going almost 12 furlongs. I think this horse, again, you may get a price here, and is going to be very dangerous.
Justin, over to you.
Yeah, I did think Oldy on the 11. That was probably Aiden's biggest shot. I thought that was the horse that when I looked, I did not put it in my top picks, but getting back to Aiden, I thought that the 11 might be the one that runs the best. But I did not. On integration, Oldy, I just did not love. I thought that the integration was for sure a vulnerable favorite here. The EquinEdge morning line has integration at 9-2. So I would put that horse well underneath. I also put the 5 on top too. I don't think that you can ignore Jose Maker. It's an EquinEdge horse to watch. Silver, I think, won 4 in a row and then just race versus really, really tough horses and at Colonial and then at Churchill. So it ran in the Arlington Million. So, I agree here. I think that Segoy or Segoa, I don't know how to pronounce it, but, yeah. So, I think there's a lot of speed here. So, but I had the 5 on top, but I also had another angle, Oli, underneath, which was the 4. And so
I knew I knew when I saw the morning line.
When I saw this, so here's the thing. So this horse is bred all day, toss this synthetic race 2 back. You have De La Cruz and Cassie. Like, this horse won this race last year. Like, I mean, of course, EquinEdge has this horse at 2-1, but the morning line gets it set at 12-1. I don't think that because Balladeer show up here, and we talked about Balladeer, what was last week? I don't remember, recently. Balladeer, I think, scratched. I think Balladeer scratched to come here, maybe, but Papa Vidromo, has the 8. This is all speed as well, and that's going to be the only problem with Get Smoky. So I think from a pace perspective, this race is highly dependent on pace because both those horses are likely to send and just go all out. So I think I do think, though, the 4, I think, depending on the speed, Oldie has a shot, but I'd put more underneath than the 5. But again, I would have to use multiple here. I thought that maybe integration fits underneath, but not to win. The only other Highway Robbers, the only other horse I'll talk about is the second pick. It's going to save ground. It's going to come off the pace. It's Lynch. It's Loveberry, which I'm like, oh my gosh, like, how am I landing on a horse like this? But, one at Ellis Park, man, and this horse is bred all day. And so, I thought for sure fits here, and is only 5%. But if, I'm not going to choose all these, there's other horses. There's the 7, there's the 10. This race is tough, just like the last one. But I thought with Irad on the lead with the 5 and then Get Smoking, again, depending on what happens with the pace here, I think the horse has to have a look, but 5-4 and then 1 underneath. Chris, my only other in 2 I put underneath, but I would try to beat the favorite here. Oldy, what's your thoughts with Tawny Port and Flavian Pratt rides? So I think that's also the only other horse I would talk about, because Flavian on fire and Tawny Port raced really well last out with Flavian Pratt, and Pratt had not rode. And so I think that was a 78 in the United Nations, and 11 horse field runs 3rd I mean, isn't Flavian going to get a very similar trip here? And I mean, I even again, I looked at a lot of horses in this race.
I think Tawny Port, the last time I ran the race, that Tawny Port always runs. If you look here, so
Doesn't
I
want to
don't
win.
think right that you look at all these races. Going back uh, to March, all these races are almost exactly the same,
Yeah.
and you know, also, so I don't think Pratt really upgraded the horse. And if you look, Clement and Pratt are only 9% as a pairing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think Pratt may have not had a ride here or something like that. Uh, I just don't like it at all here. Great. This is one of those opportunities. If you want to put Tawny Port in second or third in your trifecta, there's a pretty good chance he'll run second or third. So you may be able to play, a few horses on the win line, a few horses in third, and play Tawny Port in second, and be able to just organize your trifecta or superfecta that way as well. So, uh, and you're going to get a decent price there underneath on Tawny Port. But I honestly preferred a horse like Grand Sonata
Well, that
to
was my next thing
Tawny Port.
because they're very similar and Gaff rides back. Like, see this race, I mean, I'm like, well, you can even go to these horses because that's the last time this horse won had Tyler Gaff and he ended up just getting up. But this horse don't even like to win. But coming out of the Sword Dancer and then coming out of the United Nations, made very classy and fifth off the layoff for sure, going to be fit. Like, yeah, I this was tough, to be honest.
All right. Let's move on here. Oldy, final numbers. You gotta make a pick. What are they?
So it's 5-11-2.
Justin?
I'm going to go 5-4-1-10.
All right, you guys are both on top with number one. We're gonna move on. Moving on means going to our last race for Saturday, Kentucky Downs, race 11. We'll have some more Kentucky Downs coming up for Sunday. But Justin, let's go with you. Kick this one off.
So I put, Mustache show up as the second pick, Oldy, and Luis Saez rides. So I put Mustache on top. I think that, Louis rides coming over from Ellis Park, which is usually a good thing, is the word on the street. Stretching out, and the GSR does drop a little bit from, stretches out a half furlong from 5.5 to 6 and has not run 6 furlongs. So, but still has very capable GSR. It's just not quite as good as 5.5. So I think you could question whether Louis going to be able to get this horse to go 5.5. But, ran here last year, ran okay in, I guess ran at Ellis and then came back at Kentucky Downs, and then did run last year in a 74. That was, I think, a race that we covered a little bit ago, Oldy. So shows up in a different spot here, right? And ran 6. That was a 74, so competitive. My point, this horse has experience here, and I think coming in from Ellis ran really good in those 74 races. I think that, again, in all these races, there's a lot of speed in some of these sprints, and I'm not sure it's been this much speed up front. So I've been looking, Chris Oldy, to find somebody in some of these races to sit off the pace and find a good stocking trip. I think that Mustache has a great shot at a massive price. I mean, going to be 20-1 probably. So I think for sure in Louis, I always respect him. I think working well, and I think they were appointed here for Vicky Oliver, but Louis only hit at 9% with her, so it is a long shot. But I have the 12 on top, Chris, and then underneath the 4 and the 3, I think Cogburn is probably the one favorite that I would say in the sequence that I thought had a really good shot. I mean, I thought, Irad and Asmussen, is 1 5 out of 6. He's coming from Lone Star and then into Saratoga. But I did think, had a shot, but, I still thought that, potentially could be beat, which is why I put the 12 on top. And then in third, I had the 3, the Ravelli horse. And so I thought here it is the long shot. I think, Oldy, if you go to the race sim real quick, if we can go to the stretch and then go to the finish. So, if you go and then expand it again. So Cogburn right there. And you have the 3 horse that's right there with the 10, 12, 6, and then go to the finish. And so, the 11 is kind of closing, but a big price. But you have the 3 and 12 right there. And I thought, the 3 Oldy was another one of those horses that just raced here back on August 31st. And I'm not sure what's going to happen if this horse is going to show up here, but did run well there in a 72. So had experience. If Ravelli does wheel back, I do not play a lot of that angle like that. So, I had more underneath, but I was around the picks, but I put Mo Stash on top from the outside trip. But I do think, Rodney, I did think Cogburn could be tough. So, Oldy, go ahead.
So this was my favorite matchup of the weekend. What's going on with my audio here? I hear some echoing. Am I okay there, guys?
Yeah, you're fine.
So this is Cogburn, the 5.5 furlong record holder, versus No Balls, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. What?
Nobles.
It's No Balls.
Yeah, Nobles.
Who is the
he is
Breeders'
gelded.
Cup?
Chris, he is gelded.
Yes,
he's Nobles. That's the pronunciation.
That's not what I've heard. And he is second off the layoff, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, not Juvenile, Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint champion.
Yeah.
Ran at Saratoga first off the layoff. I don't think was fully souped up because he was cross-entered at Hawthorne that day, and not something you usually do with that type of horse. Ravelli puts Corrales up and wins a lot of races with Corrales in Kentucky, so that they're almost 30% there. You're getting 6-1 on the morning line. I highly doubt you'll get 6-1 there. This is my top pick, and my best bet of the day is No Balls, however you want to pronounce it, upsetting Cogburn here. I'm just not sure Cogburn wants 6 furlongs. I like the angle second off the layoff. I also question whether this race might be better than the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint this year, because I'm going to remind everybody that the horses shipping in from Kentucky Downs to the Breeders' Cup are 0 for their last 54. So they made a decision here because the purse is larger on this race than the Breeders' Cup to run this race. So I think No Balls comes up with the upset here. I like the post. I like that the horse has shown the ability to be on the lead or be off the lead. I like that Corrales is aboard here. And, I think that second off the layoff, this horse is ready and primed for another big upset, like in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. And also, if you remember back, this was the horse that blew up the board on Derby Day. When Mage won the Derby, this horse won at almost 40-1. So, this is my upset special / best bet of the day for No Balls. And then I have Cogburn second. And then I went off the board. I love One Timer. One Timer is one of my favorite Ravelli horses, but I went with Kadeem here. Again, another foreign horse. Won a grade 1 at Ascot.
Yes. Yeah.
In June. And I just think you can't ignore the fact that Jamie Spencer's coming here to ride, and this horse won a Grade 1 at Ascot and is coming in here, and should benefit. That was good to firm, and hasn't really liked the softer turf. So the 2 wins at Ascot this year and last year both were on good to firm. So that this is a horse that I think might benefit from that. We don't have any works to look at. It's an older horse, but I think this horse could run in the money as well. And I don't think this horse will be 7-2. I think this horse will be about 5-6-1.
All right.
Actually, I thought. Hold on, Chris. I don't disagree with you only on the 10 or the 8. I mean, they would be my 5th or 6th choice or whatever. The 8 horse, winning the Ascot race and has 2 Group 1 victories, right? And an 80 and a 76, and ships over here to your point with Jamie Spencer. And I didn't really see the good firm turf till you say that. So I think that that's a good point. That horse is so inconsistent though. And they do ship here. And getting back, I think the morning line and getting at, I think Cogburn going to take a ton of money. Rodney loved the Cogburn in the chat, but I think this horse, I actually thought the 8 might take money, to be honest. So, but it'll be, I think, when this happens, because what's going to happen then, if the 8 take a bunch of money, right, and Cogburn take a bunch of money, you're going to get prices on other horses. Is my point. You're like the 10. The 10 probably you're going to get a good price. I could see that horse going off at 6-1. So, but yeah.
All right. Final thoughts, Justin. Top picks.
Mustache on top at a bomb. 12. I believe 12-4. Yes, 12-4, 3, and I would put the 10 on there, just like Oldy said. But I like the other Ravelli, the 3. So 12-4, 3.
Oldy?
10-4-8.
Okay, we're going to flip to the next race. Will be Sunday. We got 4 Kentucky Downs races left: 7, 8, 9, and 10. Before we get into this, guys, just want to give a quick mention that tomorrow night we got 4 spots left in my coaching class. If you read Matt Miller's book, A Better Way of Thinking, which is over my shoulder here, abetterwayofthinking.com, and you've got questions, tomorrow night is the night. We've got 4 spots left. We'll be going over that book, betting strategy, and handicapping as well. We'll drop the link in the chat. Go from there. Oldy, we'll start from you here, and I'll be back with you guys in a minute.
All right. So, I mean, this with the win percentage on the 9 was absolutely screaming the 9 in the Kentucky Downs Juvenile Mile Stakes here.
I'm with you, man. I love that we're on the same horse here. So I'm also keep going, but I'm with you.
So 22%, but 15-1 on the morning line, 10-1 on the morning line. 1 for Correas, first time out, which Correas doesn't win with a lot of first time starters either. Showed the ability to be tactical in that race. Gets Jose, and this is in terms of Correas and Jose, that's the Didia, the normal Didia ride as well, and they're 30% as a pair together. So, and Jose is shipped a couple times to Horseshoe to ride for Correas in some maiden races too. So, Jose and Correas, very good pair there on top.
You have to use this horse in obviously any horizontal. I only, to be honest, would look at. I'm not kidding. I might single this horse. I really like the 9 here. But my comment too, must use in a vertical. If this horse doesn't win, I think it will run just an amazing race. So
yeah, I honestly struggled beyond that. Tistastic for Asmussen did win a 6.5 already at Kentucky Downs. I believe is going to wheel back. The works are excellent. That's my second choice here.
Yep.
By 'Tis the Law. And then I was also on the 4, Reach for Rose for Safi. Ran pretty well in that same $1 billion race about a week ago. Is a long shot, is 11%, 7-2 on the morning line. But, I really didn't, I'm going to say I didn't really love this horse. Dylan Davis does ride, so I should point that out as well. But I was really on the 9 and the 10 here as my top 2 horses.
Oldy, it's I think of everything we covered this race because it's a 2-year-old race, right?
Yeah.
And you have maidens. If you go over to the Lifetime, you have a bunch of maidens in here. And I agree a lot with you in this race, and that doesn't happen often, but we always have some amount of differences, really. But I thought that, because of the win percent and is off the maiden, but all of these are so lightly raced that, the 9 would be just, again, I might single, I do think the 4 is probably the only other horse I'll talk about, but you already talked about Tistastic. I think the morning line has a little angle there. I think that horse looks to be, running really well. It is a quick turn back. But so many, the system really likes the 9. And then if we go to the 4, the Scotty Longshot, this might be one of the reasons why I wouldn't single is you then have a long shot that you might get a price on. It's Safi Dylan Davis, and Dylan's rode amazing in New York at Saratoga. And so it's like, well, I'm glad to see this horse might turn back too. I don't know, so, but I was very similar in that I was really looking at the 9 and 10, not that others couldn't, we could talk about the 6 or whatever, but I was really looking at the 9, 10, 4. So.
Yeah, no, and I will point out, the 10, it wasn't as good. That was an allowance race versus the 4 who was in the juvenile turf sprint there last week. So, just a point that I almost made incorrectly. So I wanted to correct myself there. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to look at the AEs here, but there's an AE for Ward that's now with Ravelli that could be interesting, the 13. And
the horse's name is Homie.
Hopefully he does play that. For those of you who remember, Homie Don't Play That from Homie the Clown from In Living Color. It was David Wayne's character.
Did you see? The 14 though is on the AE list, getting shipped in from Evangeline.
Yeah, and let's see. So from a GSR perspective, 2 doesn't seem to fit. But I will point out the 15 is getting shipped in. Is O'Brien's kid, and getting shipped in and might get Saez as a maiden here. So maybe that's the AE to be the 15 and the 13 are the AEs to maybe add here as horses that might be, as we call them, interesting.
So that's his son. How do you pronounce his name? Donacha?
Something like that. Yes.
I that's an interesting angle. It'd be interesting. I mean, didn't really run yet, but but they do ship in here. And they
spent the money to ship in. You have to figure that this horse is going to be, especially since they didn't know whether the horse would get in live. I did hear something about it on Howard's show 2 weeks ago.
Let's just call him the O'Brien horse. Make it easy on you guys.
The D. O'Brien.
Yeah. All right. Justin, where'd you end up here? What were your finals?
No, Oldy and I were very, very similar. We have the Chris getting. You should just to recover here. You have Jose riding for Correas on the 9 is EquinEdge Horse to Watch Silver. We both have the 9 on top at maybe 15 to 1, 10 to 1. And then the 10 is the Steve horse to Stastic. So I was 9, 10, and then 4. I thought that the 4 Oldy talked about Reach for the Rose coming out of that different race. But so Chris, they're wheeling back, both of them. But 9 on top and 4, 10 underneath.
Oldy?
Also 9, 10, and 4. So we actually agreed on this. But yeah. I would add the 13 or 15 if either of them get in.
All right. We're going to move on to the next one. And that will be Kentucky Downs Race 8 on Sunday. Billy's 2-year-olds. What do you got? Oldy, go for it.
I thought the picks were pretty solid here. And in that order, the 1, She's All Charm for Hardy with Sias aboard. It's my top pick at 9-2, 5-2 on E morning line, 17% to win. And then I am on the 8 Kilwin top GSR, second E pick, working pretty well as well. Again, second time starter, not much to see here in terms of experience. And then the long shot, the 4 for Walsh. And a lot of these Walsh horses, it's tough to tell how they're working because they're all Turfway synthetic works. And that doesn't tell you much about the turf form of a horse.
Yep, training at a different track, different surface.
Yeah.
Justin, your thoughts?
Oldy and I have a little bit of similar picks here, but in a little bit of a different order. I put the 4 actually on top. So Oldy, you just talked about the 4. It's Gaff, Walsh, right? GSR is monster. I mean, it's an 80. So these 6.5 races, it's right there at the race sim. It's the 1 actually wins the race sim race, but the 4 right there up to kind of around the stretch. So I actually had the 4 on top. I tried to get around She's All Charm on the 1 horse, but I do think that Hardy, this is the horse he has to try to win here. I mean, it's going to be on the rail. It's Louis. This horse has speed for Godolphin. So I would have underneath, but I had the 4 on top, Chris. And then I agree with Oldy on the 8 is the top GSR for George Arnold. And the other Jose Lascano rides. So 4, 8 and underneath then, Chris, would be the 1. And then for 2 prices, the 3 and the 9, I'll talk about them both. Correas Jose on the 3. So we just talked about that in the last race. And so, 1 and GSR is fine up to 70. So I'm like, well, here they are again, so that I thought that the 3 and then the 9 as gets back to turf. So you can toss the dirt race for Dylan Davis and Cassie. So I thought this was really competitive, but 4 on top, and then it probably would be 8, 3, 1, 9. So
I mean, 4 for Justin on top, 8, 3, 1, 9. Oldie, where were you?
1, 8, 4, and I agree, Justin, on the 3. I don't like the 9 because I just didn't like 2 of the 3 races from the 9.
Yeah, that's I could agree with you there. I think I definitely think the 3 at 4%, Jose for Caress, as a price, it's only 4%, but they're going to win their fair share of races, especially at Kentucky Downs. So
and I would add the 15 if the 15 were to get in as well. So
Cox
for
really likes it. Top GSR numbers at 6.5 too.
Yeah, no, I think that again has to get in, but I think that this horse is classy enough and Showed the ability to run in the right style here, and looks like it's working pretty well on the wrong surfaces, but still, perfect figure. The 15, if it gets in, would be a horse I'd want to add.
All right, going to go on to the next race. Sticking at Kentucky Downs Sunday, race 9, more fillies, 2-year-olds.
Going a mile. In the Kentucky Downs Juvenile Fillies Stakes. So my top pick here was on the lead. You have a big pace advantage for Mean Eileen. The long shot for Joe Sharp, who's been red hot. You get Brian Hernandez, who rode really well today as well. This horse already has a win at Kentucky Downs. I think this is another one I heard is wheeling back. And then my second choice is an off the border. So the 10, big GSR for Brendan Walsh, won at Alice last time to break its maiden, 77 GSR, Declan Cannon riding. It's a Mendelssohn, and shortens up to a mile here. So we know this horse is fit because it won at a mile and a 16th. So I think this 10 horse might sit a trip here, and you might be able to find a price. And then I was also on the 12 Tigerish for Baltus, who's taking over for Eddie and Iscanili here. And I like the turf works here on this horse since moving over as well. And you get Flo, who I prefer on the turf to the dirt. And, this horse looks fit and I think ready to go as well.
All right, Justin, I think you guys agree on the top pick here, but let's hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I think, Joe Sharp, the 2, if he wheels back, Oldy Mean Eileen could be tough on the lead. I agree with you. I'm not used to playing these horses that come back in like 7 to 10 days.
Yeah.
But, I was on the rail there and just looked by far the best. So 2 on top. I agree with you on the 10 as well underneath for Brendan Walsh, Declan Cannon. I will just go. My third pick would have been the 8, Oldie. Sasha Way. Tyler Gaff rides 1 first out for Medina, and only 9%. But if we go to the race sim, it is looked to be closing here, and the 2 looks to win the race. But you talked a little bit about the 12, and so the 8 I think is going to get a very similar trip. And I let me see what else I had here. Always not anything wrong with the 70 GSR, and Tyler does ride for Medina, so I thought, you get the right mount for Tyler and Medina as a horse here. He doesn't hit a lot, but won at a big price, but looked good at Ellis at only 8%. So I thought, in a race like this for 2-year-old fillies, that she might be the upset. I would love to see her show up in the picks, only if any of those horses scratch, because out of the horses that are coming out of the maiden, I just, love coming from Alice GSR. You have Tyler. So we'll see.
All right. Final picks, Oldy, for this race.
So again, 3, 10, 12 for me. And then I'm just taking a quick look.
No, 2, 10. 2, 10.
Yeah, 2, 10, 12. And you have 2 Cox horses in your AEs, and another angle with a foreign horse shipping in that's sitting here waiting to see if it gets in with the 16 as well. So you have the 13 and 14 for Cox. And they appear to be working together too. The 14 appears to be working slightly better than the 13 if you had to choose one. And then the 16 horse. So I'm not picking any of them, but I'm just saying if they get in, those might be horses you might need to look at as well.
Justin?
2, 10, 8.
All right. moving on to the last race of the night. Kentucky Downs, race number 10.
Yes. So I agree with the E picks here. And in that order, too, I thought Neat, who we got a price on the show on August 2nd in the Hall of Fame, I think you got something similar here. And I think Neat is the best horse in this race and should be the morning line favorite, even though Brilliant Birdie is, and has beaten better or similar to Brilliant Birdie. So I'm on the 12 Neat on top. The Brilliant Birdie is my second choice. The E second choice is 14%, 82 GSR for Sherry DeVoe. And mentioned that it's Rob Atras and Alvarado on 12 Neat. And then I'm on the long shot, the 7 for Maker and Jose as my third choice.
All right, so EE picks for you across the board there. Justin, let's hear what you have to say here.
I thought this was fairly competitive, and I completely tossed the favorites. So I would not use. This is where Oldy, you and I in one race might agree, in the next race I'm like, oh, not on this one. I'm like, I didn't even put the 12 or 8 in my picks. I thought you could get a price here, so I put the 5 on top in a jam. It's Dylan Davis for Cassie. And again, we talked about Dylan a little while ago, and he rode amazing at Saratoga. This horse is right there on the sim race. It's been running well, won a 62 and then dropped back in 68s and 72s. So, I think that there's going to be some speed, but it shows right there in the race sim. So, shows up at 10%. The win percents are, they go to spread that out and then go to the stretch and then you keep going. But I agree with you on the 7. We'll talk about the 7 in a minute. But, there's not as much pace. Look at And the stretch, man, go back to the stretch, Oldy. I mean, look at all those horses that look to be right there. So I think this race I thought was really tough. That's why I was trying to get around the favorites. But, in a jam's right there. And then I'd put Army Officer would be my second pick, the 4 horse. And, also right there, this is the top GSR, in 86. It's huge. Won a 64 2 back and then ran in the Hall of Fame and was the favorite, but didn't run. I don't know what happened, but sounds like Oldy, you all covered that. But
Neat's just better than Army Officer would be my answer to you, and it was clear in that race. Our Army Officer had virtually a perfect trip in that race and backed up.
Yeah, when I look, because Dettori rode the last 2 times and he was way too close to the pace last out. I mean, that would be my only perspective on that race. I don't remember watching it. I would have to watch it. But if you look back at the wins, he sits much further off the pace. So I don't think he wants to be that close would be my comment. So the 5 on top, the 4 second, Chris. And then my last pick was also the 7. It's Scotty Longshot, Lucky Jeremy. I mean, I think from a pace perspective, I think the 7 gets the lead and I think could be tough on the front end, to be honest. So 5, 4, 7, Chris.
All right. Well, Oldy, give us your last picks here, and then we'll get to a wrap-up spot and get back to football.
So 12, 8, 7, and I likely will be single to Neat the 12 here in the Global Tote Gun Runner Stakes.
All right. Fair enough. Thank you all for joining. We're going to wrap it up for the evening. Just some programming notes. Tomorrow, Oldy and David Harrison will be on at noon Eastern time, going through the road to the NHC. We will be on Saturday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time, going through all these races with you live on the stretch run. tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You can sign up here. Matt Miller will be my guest for the Friday night Zoom. There are 4 spots left. If you want to learn a few things and maybe pick up maybe some bad habits and pick up some good ones, tune in there. Programming note: we are going to Keeneland the weekend of October 10th and 11th. That's the Friday, Saturday. We'll be covering the fall contest. Oldy, Justin, and I will be on site with some friends. So looking forward to that. Final thoughts, guys. Justin, I'll throw it to you first.
That was fun. I always love getting to handicap, especially Kentucky Downs. So I know we covered a lot of Kentucky Downs, but they have all the stakes this weekend. Super competitive. I think there's great sequence, ahead in both, their whole card. They look good. I looked at some of the other races too. So it was fun. I look forward to doing it. And Oldy, any other thoughts?
No, just that it looks like a great weekend of very competitive races. So, should make for great betting opportunities for everybody. Good luck, everybody. And we hope to see you on the both at the Road to NHC tomorrow and the stretch run on Saturday. Thank you very much. And the game is tied, I believe, right now, 26 apiece.
Yep.
Wow.
And we will bid you a pleasant good evening. Good night, everybody.